Hello everyone and welcome to this first video for Stat 437. Today we're just doing an introduction to the course. So we're going to take a look at the course syllabus. I'll introduce myself and we'll start to see what we're expecting out of the term. So with that, why don't we just get started here. So like I said, this is Stat 437. My name is Dylan Spicker. I'll be the instructor for the course this term. So I am a PhD student at the University of Waterloo. I'm going into sort of my last couple of terms here, so almost finished up. The research that I'm doing is related to biostatistics. It's got a little bit of a relationship to what it is we'll be talking about in this course. But if you have any questions about what's grad school like, what's grad school like at the University of Waterloo, that type of thing, happy to answer any of those. Got quite a lot of experience with that. My email is provided on the syllabus as well, so please feel free to reach out to me via email at any point if you have questions with anything that I have written in this document or questions at all throughout the term. I'm always available on email. So I'll just point out before we dive too much further into the syllabus here that this document should be available on Learn in PDF. This file as I have open here. There's also a version of it available online on the UWaterloo outline tool. So you can take a look at that if you'd rather see the HTML version there. It might be slightly different if you're looking at this in the future. I may have made some tweaks or adjustments, but for the most part, the broad strokes will be the same as what I'm going through here today. Now, the only other thing that I want to do before we dive into looking at this syllabus entirely is just call your attention to our territorial acknowledgement here. So the first paragraph here acknowledges that the University of Waterloo is situated on land that was granted to 6 nations. And the second part is acknowledging that I'm not in Waterloo right now, I'm in Ottawa, and so I am also on traditionally unceded territory. And I would just encourage you, wherever you might be, I know that, this has turned into another pandemic turn, so you might be sort of anywhere in this country, around the world. I would encourage you to take a look at the history of the place you're in and reflect on that as you should. But so with that, we can dive into sort of the crux of the video today, and that is, what is this course? What are we doing with Stat 437? So the overarching goal is to conduct life history analysis. And so the way that we're going to do that with this course is divided into 2 sections. So on one hand, we have longitudinal data analysis, and on the other hand, we have survival data analysis. And the course, roughly speaking, is going to be evenly divided between those 2 topics. So we'll spend the first half of the term, give or take a bit, dealing with longitudinal data and tools for analyzing longitudinal data. And then the second half of the course will deal with survival analysis or life history analysis or time to event analysis. These are all interchangeable ways of saying the same thing. So we'll look at numerous different methodologies for each of these 2 subjects, and we'll consider them from a conceptual, from a theoretical, and from an applied lens. I'd also point out that we are going to be using statistical software throughout this term. Specifically, I use R, so all of our programming examples will be given in R. If you're more comfortable with SAS or an alternative language, feel free to do that. I will do my best to help you out with it, but I can't promise that if you're using anything other than R, that I will know exactly what's going on. So we might have to work to figure that one out together. So before we get into the details of what this term actually specifically looks like, we can talk a little bit about the course and the course expectations. Everything is run asynchronously this term, so there won't be any live lectures, there won't be any live testing, and this is done to try to help facilitate your own schedule. So all of the videos are going to be posted like this one, and you can work through them at sort of your own pace. I'll give a suggested pace for you to be progressing through the term as you need to be, but ultimately it's up to you to sort of work through those. They're not going to be weekly sessions. Everything we'll go on to the Learn website. These videos will also be posted on YouTube if that's easier for you to deal with, but all of the major information you can get on Learn, any resources that are provided, they will be uploaded there. This course relies heavily on material from Stat 331 and Stat 431, so that's linear models and generalized linear models. Now, I'll review some of this material when it comes up in the course, but certainly if you don't feel like you have the strongest basis from those two courses, I would encourage you to review material that you may have from those two subject areas. Otherwise, there's a lot that we're going to do this term that's probably not going to make a whole lot of sense. We're really building on top of the foundation set out by those two courses. If you're in need of resources for those courses, do let me know and I will do what I can to pull something together and send that over. In terms of office hours, it has to be by appointment, and specifically it's going to be online appointment. So on Learn, there's a link posted that you can go on and you can book different length sessions with me sort of at your convenience. Right now I'm including a lot of availability. If you can't find something that works for you when you're trying to book, let me know and we can try to work something else out. Seeing throughout the term how it goes, I can expand or perhaps reduce my availability or change when that is. But right now I'm trying to provide you sort of as flexible of slots to possibly book from as I can. Now, I would say that you have to book 24 hours in advance of the session, and that's just to give me time to make sure that I'm actually available during that period, because you can book office hours at just about any point with me. I just need to know sufficiently in advance. And you can also only book 1 week out, so you can't book something more than 1 week into the future. But other than that, everything should sort of be available there. If you need something outside of those times, just send me an email and we can discuss whatever it is that you need. In terms of discussion forums, because this is an online course being offered asynchronously after, a couple of years of online courses, I really want to try and encourage sort of the classroom feel. And so I think the best way of doing this is to open up a discussion forum in a medium like Teams. So that's probably what I'm going to do at the start. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with this, and so if in the past you found that something else works better, like Discord or Slack or any other option, please just let me know, and I'm pretty open to trying to facilitate whatever. But like I was saying, I just think that it's a good thing for you to be able to ask me questions in sort of an informal setting and to discuss with each other the course topics. I think that goes a long way to helping you throughout this course. So we will have that. In terms of material, I've listed a number of optional textbooks on the syllabus here. You don't need a textbook for this course. Everything will be contained within the course videos or anything that I post on Learn. But if you like learning from a textbook, there are a number of options here. This first one, this Applied Longitudinal Analysis from 2011, that's the one that I'm working most closely from, at least for the first half of the material. Now, I think that all of these are available potentially online through the library's website. You'd have to check that one out. But any of the versions that you can find from these textbooks would do well if you're looking for one. We're covering some pretty sort of well-covered ground, and so anything that you can find that's talking about the topics should do a sufficient job if you're looking for an external resource. So in terms of course objectives, I've tried to lay out sort of all of the things that you should walk away from this course knowing and tried to make them somewhat actionable. So reading through this now might not mean a whole lot to you, but hopefully, by the end of the term, you can go through this list and sort of tick off all of these boxes. The basic idea, though, is that we're going to cover a number of different types of models for analyzing longitudinal data after we learn about what longitudinal data are and the structure that longitudinal data take. And then we're going to repeat the same process for survival data or time to event data. And that's going to basically be the structure that we take throughout the course. Throughout as we go, I'm going to try to motivate why we're looking at different types of methods. Why do we need marginal models and transitional models and mixed effect models, that kind of thing. And we're going to look at them from a theoretical lens, from an applied lens, and conceptually try to understand what's going on with them. So, like I was saying previously, we'll also be implementing them in statistical software using R for the examples. But again, you can use whatever makes most sense for you. Next, we have the tentative course schedule, and hopefully in the future when you're looking at this, I've filled out more of this table. Right now I don't have all of the video material done, and so I don't have the suggested video material filled in, but that will be filled in here. The only thing that I would point out with this schedule is that everything that I'm showing you on the screen right now, at least, is tentative. This will be finalized by the start of term, of course, and anything you're seeing here, these dates might look slightly different, but as a general rule, this just has the assessment dates and the reading break and that kind of thing. Because you're going to be self-pacing throughout the course, I will indicate what video material is required for which assessment and what's covered on the midterm and that type of thing. But if you don't cover the video material in each week directly as is suggested, that's totally fine. If you cover more at the beginning and then, have a little bit of a break, that's fine, or shift it around however. Of course, that's totally up to you. They're not going to be posted week by week. Instead, the videos will cover the different topics, and so I will fill this in or post updates to learn as the schedule becomes sort of more clear. Each of the videos is going to be either a conceptual video, a theoretical video, or an applied video, and those correspond to whether we're looking at sort of a base level understanding of the topics, whether we're doing derivations and proofs, or whether we're actually using the methods on real data. So my goal is to take the main lecture content, the content with slides, and to work that through conceptually, to really try and get a strong understanding of what it is that we're talking about, why we care, that kind of thing. These videos won't have specific proofs or derivations, or at least won't have very many of those in it, with the idea being that that information will get pushed into its own theoretical video where I go through step by step and work through all of those concepts. And same thing with application, so with an actual data analysis and example. I'm going to separate those out. And my hope with doing it this way is that if you struggle more with R code, then you can take some more time with the applied video, which can go into more detail and look there. If you're struggling more with derivations, then I can give you the theoretical video standing alone after you've already learned the concept and try to work through that information specifically. I'd be really curious to hear how this structure is working for you, so please, at any point throughout the term, please send me some feedback and I'll try to adapt to be more well-suited for what's going to help you all learn. All of the videos will be posted both to YouTube and to Learn, and you can watch those wherever you would like. We do have a tutorial slot for this course. It's not a scheduled tutorial, it'd be asynchronous. And I'm going to sort of put it out to you to see how we want to use these tutorials. I'm open to doing whatever's going to help best facilitate your learning. So if we want to do sort of an open Q&A once a week, we can do that. If we want to just have that be a drop-in session, if we want it to be me working through some more examples, whatever the case may be, we can certainly arrange that. If it's something that involves two-way communication, then I'll do my best to schedule that at a time that works for everyone. And if we can't get a time that works for everyone, if it doesn't end up working for you, let me know and we can make sure that you're not missing out on the content there. Because if we're doing something where there's communication between yourselves and me, then I'm not going to be recording those, just to encourage participation so that no one has to worry about sort of being recorded on a Zoom lecture or that kind of thing. So the tutorial's still up in the air as to what we want to do with them, but if we want them, they are there. That's part of the course, so we can certainly make use of them. So up next is the grading scheme, which is, of course, everyone's most favorite part of looking through the syllabus. So to briefly run through, we're going to have 3 problem set assignments, and they're going to be worth 15% each for a total of 45%. We have a take-home test, which is 15%, a paper critique or review, which is 10%, and then a final cumulative project for the remaining 30%. Okay, so I guess the thing to point out is that there is no proctored exam. There is no closed book material here. All of the assessments, you're going to be able to use the course material directly, and I hope that will help alleviate some of the stress that I'm sure you all have around this course, and will sort of be conducive to learning that way. So it's not going to be a course that sort of promotes memorization of what we're talking about in the slides. I really want you to try to engage with the ideas to understand them. And because of that, you can use the material at any point and work from there. So if we sort of break down the assignments then, for the problem set assignments, there's going to be 3 of them. And the purpose of these is to sort of reinforce your course concepts. It's to provide some sort of self-assessment for you to see how well are you doing throughout the term, and it's got a little bit of weight because, got to encourage that to happen. So they're going to be done through CrowdMark. You'll receive a link. If you have any issues with CrowdMark, just let me know, but I'm pretty confident that most of you have seen CrowdMark by this point. Now, the assignments are going to be slightly different from what you might normally expect from assignments, and that's because you're going to have the chance to do resubmissions. So the way this is going to work is every assignment is going to have 2 due dates. It's going to have the regular due date, the submission date, and a resubmission date. So you're going to have to submit your assignment by the submission date. I will collect all of those. I will mark them and give you back your marks on them with which questions you got right, which questions you got wrong. Then, if you want to, and this part's totally optional, but if you want to, you'll then be given the opportunity to take your marked assignment, make corrections to it, and resubmit the corrected assignment, as well as some brief explanation of what it was that went wrong with the assignment. So just a quick comment about what was the misunderstanding. And then I will mark this resubmitted assignment, or remark the questions on it that you got wrong. And you can earn up to 50% of the marks that you lost back. So if you got 80% on your initial submission and you correct all of your mistakes, then you'll end up with a 90% on the assignment. So this resubmission is totally optional. It's not to create more work for you. My idea with it is twofold. The first, I'm trying to reduce some of the stress surrounding assignments, right? This takes away a little bit of pressure. If you make a silly mistake, you can correct it and get half of the marks back. It's not going to be penalize you too heavily. The other piece is that I really want these assignments to be seen as a learning tool. And I know that when I give you back your assignments, most students, myself included, don't really take the time to go through the assignments and try to understand what everything was. And so with this, I hope that you will take the time to review what it was that was covered and try to understand where it was that you went wrong and improve on that, learn the concepts more strongly that way. To clarify a couple other points, the solutions for the assignments won't be posted until after the resubmission date. So you're not going to have the solutions to correct your assignments with. You're going to have to correct them on your own. And the initial marking is going to have fairly minimal feedback. So I'm not going to tell you exactly why what you were doing is wrong, but I'll probably point you in some direction or give you something to think about on where the mistake was. And in terms of explaining what it was you did wrong, I'll provide some examples of that on Learn when we're submitting the first assignment, so you don't have to worry. That's not going to be a big thing. I just want to see, did you think about what it was that you were doing wrong and how to improve that? In terms of late or missed assignments, if you missed the submission date, the first submission date, you can still submit your assignment by the resubmission date and get up to 50% of the material, or of the marks, right? So I'll just mark that as a resubmission, where your first submission you had a 0, so you can earn up to 50%. If you've not submitted by the resubmission date, then you will receive a 0 on the corresponding assignment. Now, if anything comes up, whether it's illness or you're unable to complete the assignment for any reason, or if you need an extension on it for whatever reason, I understand that this term is going to be very chaotic, and I'm totally open and totally willing to be flexible about these types of things. You just have to make sure you're contacting me so that I have enough time to sort of make arrangements with you. So if you need accommodations for whatever reason, let me know and we'll see what we can do to work that out. I hope that there's some flexibility already built into what it is that we're doing here, but I do want you to feel comfortable reaching out and asking me if you need an extension for whatever reason. There's a lot going on, and I definitely want you to be confident to be able to reach out to me. In terms of group work, everyone's required to submit their own independent assignments. It needs to be your own work, needs to be your own code, needs to be your own results. I will encourage you to talk to your classmates and discuss the questions, discuss the problem sets, discuss the solutions. But if you discuss the solutions with any of your other classmates, please indicate their names on the top of your work, right? This is just so that when I'm marking, if I see two people have similar answers, then if you've indicated, oh yeah, I was speaking to so-and-so about the assignment, then I know, okay, this isn't going to be an academic integrity violation. It just simplifies the process a lot. So if you talk to anyone, that's totally okay. I'd encourage it. Actually, it will help you learn. Then just indicate who you were speaking with. And if both students are doing that, or if a group of students all reference each other, no problems at all. That's great. Again, everything that you submit has to be your own. So you can't submit someone else's code and their outputted results. It has to be your own, but you can get to those results with someone else. In terms of retrieving marked assignments, again, I assume that you are all familiar with CrowdMark. You receive a link to your marked assessment. So the term test, which tentatively is in the week of March 7th, is take home open book. I will give you roughly a week to complete it. I have to work out all of the specific details, but you'll be given several days to complete it. My intention's not for this exam to take you several days of working on to complete, but rather to take you a few hours to complete, and you can just do that at any point in that window. This hopefully will give you some more flexibility because, again, this course is asynchronous, and so I'm trying to make it as easy to fit around your other courses as is possible. I will let you know exactly what the coverage of the midterm is going to be, and there's no resubmission on the midterm. There's also no group work on the midterm. So it's open book, but you can't consult with your peers. For the paper critique and the final project, so these will be sort of the two projects in the course, I'll give you full details of what exactly will be covered, but briefly, the paper critique is going to involve you reading and responding to published scientific literature that's related to the course content. And the final project is going to involve you taking a data set or taking a theoretical concept from the course and either applying the course methods to it or sort of working through the theory in substantive detail. For the paper critique and the final project, my goal is to give you a lot of choice about what exactly you want that to look like. Again, I'll describe this in full detail on Learn, but I recognize that some of you are hoping to go to grad school after this. Some of you are hoping to work as data scientists. I'm sure some of you have, whatever career aspirations you might have. And I think that this course can probably be an asset for you in any of those endeavors. And so my goal is, with all of the assessments in this course, but in particular with the paper critique and the final project, I really want those to serve as useful to you outside of this course. I don't want them to be something that you just work on to get a grade. I want them to be something that are going to benefit you and your long-term goals. And so I'm going to give you a lot of flexibility about whether you want to do a written essay or an academic poster or a video presentation or some sort of data visualization. Whatever sort of is there, as long as it's ticking all of the boxes, the requirements, that will be great. For the final project, it's going to roughly be split 20% of the 30 is going to be based on submitted work, And then for 10% of it, we're going to book sort of informal discussions between yourselves and I, and I'm just going to ask you some questions about the decisions you made throughout the project and how that corresponds to the course materials. So it's going to be a quite informal discussion, and just sort of to pick your brain about it and get a better sense. So neither of those will have resubmission dates either. Both of those are open book but independent, so no peer work there. Provided beneath that is the tentative assessment schedule. And so, again, this is perhaps subject to slight change, but I've included the submission deadline and the resubmission deadline, at least that I have planned for the course so far. So that's roughly how the course is going to be graded and what we're going to be talking about. I do want to take a few minutes and discuss a couple of other things with you. So the first is that in this learning environment, I'm going to try to work hard to make sure that it is an accommodating, welcoming environment for everyone to learn in. So if you want to, if you feel comfortable, please feel free to share a preferred name, preferred pronouns, anything else that might be relevant for me in my interactions with you, to share that with me over email. Or if you're comfortable, feel free to share that with your classmates on the discussion space as well. I encourage you to do that if that's something that's going to help you in this course. Of course, it's entirely an optional situation, but I would encourage you to do that if that's going to help you learning. I would also say that if there's any other circumstances that come up throughout the term or that exist presently that are important for me to know about, that will impact your progression throughout the term, if anything's happening that's getting in the way of this course, definitely let me know. We're taking a fourth year statistics course here, which I think covers a lot of interesting and important topics in statistics, but primarily your health is the most important thing. And so I do not want this course, no matter how interesting or important I think it is, I do not want this course to get in the way of your own health. And so please feel free to be able to reach out to me if you need sort of anything. If there are resources that I can put you in contact with, I will happily do that. If it's something that I can be flexible with in terms of the course, I will happily do that. And I'm sure, working together, opening up those lines of communication, we can make this work for all of us. The other thing that I'll point out, and I was briefly mentioning this a moment ago, but it's a note on grades. So again, I was a student at Waterloo. I understand sort of the pressure of grading in this context, but I would like to say that mostly the grades that you receive are intended to communicate some pieces of information to you or to other people. So they're supposed to be communicating to you, how well are you doing in this course content? And into the future, they're supposed to communicate, how well did you master this course content? Grades don't actually serve that well as a motivator. They serve a lot better to increase anxiety, to increase stress, and I'm trying to do what I can to minimize that stress. The last thing that any of us need right now is additional stress. And so I've tried to design this course to be flexible in terms of grading, but I've also tried to design it so that the assessments that you're completing have value beyond this course. So your final project, your paper analysis, and even some of the questions in the assignments directly are designed in such a way so as to help you further your own academic or post-academic goals, whether that's grad school, whether that's a specific career, whatever else. You're entering a time where developing a portfolio might be useful for you. And so my hope is that stuff that you're doing in this course can serve that dual purpose where it's going to provide you value beyond this course, which will, motivate you to sort of invest in it. But it's also going to mean that any time you spend in this course is hopefully valuable for you outside of this course. So if there are specific ways that you think that this course might be able to benefit you outside of the grade you're going to be receiving at the end of the term, definitely reach out to me. Let me know. If you have an idea about a way you'd like to modify the final project or the paper critique, or if there's some other way that we might be able to work this content into what it is that you're trying to achieve, let me know. And if we can figure out a way so that I can make sure that I'm communicating sort of what it is that you've learned and you can get value out of it, then that's amazing, and I think that we should certainly pursue that. Otherwise, the only other bits left in this syllabus are the piece from the university, so it's the piece that you'll see on all of your syllabi. We'll take academic integrity quite seriously, but this is a fourth year or a 400 level course, so you all know that. Grievances, disciplines, appeals, they all have formal policies. If you require accessibility services, reach out to them. Reach out to me if there's any way that I can help with accommodations that sort of might be separate from that. Turnitin's not relevant. I'm not using Turnitin for this course, so you shouldn't need to worry about that. And as I was mentioning with the tutorials, we're not going to be doing any student recording in this course. The only time that you'll be sort of in a video call where you'll be forced to participate on that video call in any way is when we're meeting one-on-one to discuss the final project. And if you have concerns about that, certainly let me know in advance, and I'm happy to see if we can't work out something about that. So that's most of what I wanted to cover in today's introductory video. Hopefully that was not too much detail thrown at you at once, and I hope that it sort of gives you a sense of what it is that we're going to be trying to do in this course and what we expect. Like I said, there's a number of places that I would like some feedback, in particular about our discussion forum and about the tutorial use. So if you have thoughts on that, feel free to reach out and let me know. And otherwise, I will see you all in the next video.